I'm Sandile here. I'm going to take you through the compliance of your business. So we are going to talk about different components which covers different acts, different regulations, and some of the regulatory bodies that are available in different sectors. However, it is very important that you take an initiative to research any regulatory body that is within your own sector in making sure that you comply and you are compliant as a business. The first one that I'm going to talk about is going to be the CIPC, what is called CIPC, which is responsible for registering the businesses. However, I want us to look at the terminology of compliance so that we can be in a better situation for us to understand the concept so that it's easy for us to comply. The word compliance, it means you adhere to the rules that are available and that has been set by that specific institutions that you want to work with. And this is normally known as conforming to the rules, right? Rules. It sounds harsh, but the reality of the world is each and every sector is governed by certain rules. We as the country are governed by certain rules. So the meaning of the word, it means you come to a point where you comply to those rules that are available. For an example, if I say, if you want to marry my daughter, you must make sure that you have a car, you have a house, you are working a paying job. What's that? I'm putting the rules down so that before you can even do what you want to do to get married to my daughter, you must first demonstrate that you have complied with those rules that I've put in place. So that's a simple example that I can give you. And this is also governed by different policies, rules, legislation, documents that are available in different spheres of government, private sector, and the society at large. And also, we are going to talk about the benefits of why should we comply? What is the outcome? And what will it do for my business? So it's very important for us also to understand the benefits of that. So without any waste of time, as I've said, we're going to talk about the CIPC, which is known as Companies Intellectual Property Commission, which is formerly known as CIPO. That is fully responsible in terms of managing the Companies Act of 1997, specifically to register companies. When you start a company, you need to visit the CIPC website so that you can be able to reserve the company name. But some companies, they don't feel like we should start by reserving a name, which is not a problem because you can still skip the step of securing a name and just register the company as long you'll be able to get the registration number. And with the registration number, once you are registered, you need to understand that you have given birth to a different human being. And I'm saying the human being so that you can be able to understand that the business, once it's registered, it separates itself from the founder or the directors of the company. You might be the founder, but it doesn't mean the company must operate under your own ID number, right? Hence, it has its own registration number, which is its identity. And when you look at the Companies Act, it guides us to say you do the registration of the name if you want to. If you don't want, as I've mentioned, you go straight to the registration. Then, after, you need to be able to maintain your compliance by making sure that you put documents that are very key, safe for the next 7 years before you can even start thinking of destroying them. And as it guides us according to the Companies Act, it also tells us that if you want to manage the finances of the company must have its own separate business account, which is separate to the accounts of the directors. This means you cannot use the company's funds and say you are going to buy clothes because you are not paying yourself, which is a mistake that a lot of SMMEs are doing. They don't pay themselves as the directors and say we are still building the company. And at a later stage, when the company gets money, they use the business card to for transactions that are personal. That's not allowed. That is why it is very important that you pay yourself because you are hired by the company, regardless that you are the founder, so that you can be able to have your own salary that you can use to buy clothes. Remember, in this situation, you are not buying a uniform, you are buying clothes. So, also under the company, the CIPC, we can be able to be assisted at a later stage if you want to change the directors. There are precise guidelines that take you step by step. We call them director amendments. And another thing that is very important for me to mention in this session is that you need to pay annual returns. Annual returns are paid within the 30 days after your financial year end. It is very important. At this point in time, not SARS, CIPC will charge you 100 rands, right? However, if you go to consultants, they'll put an additional amount if you don't want to do it yourself. So it is very important that we keep our status with CIPC active by paying our annual returns, which is as separate to what SARS requires as annual returns. We can also change the name if you want to change the name at a later stage. You change the auditor's details as you rotate them or your address, you are still allowed. So all these are happening under the CIPC website. Then, after you've registered your company, it is very important to make sure that you comply with SARS. SARS is responsible to collect monies, but at the very same time, to make sure that the country is able to disperse those funds in accordance with the Tax Exemption Act. This is where now most of the people are required by SARS to register for e-filing. The e-filing is an online system because now SARS wants everyone to be able to have SARS applications on their hand so that we avoid standing in long queues unnecessarily. So it is very important also, as I've mentioned earlier, that you dive deep through your research processes to say what are the things that are involved within SARS. But the most important one that I would mention is that as you register your business with CIPC, automatically you are being registered as a business, not personal. As a business, you are automatically being registered for the business so that it can have its own registration number, which was different previously because you had to start from scratch to go to SARS and start from registering. And by registering, it doesn't mean already you have a tax clearance, which is also known now as the PIN instead of the certificate. You still have to go through the process of going through the system, the e-filing, and be able to do that so that you can download your tax clearance certificate for tendering, and there's also for good standing. And you get the PIN, which is the PIN that you can use as a service provider to other institutions to check whether you comply or not. And if you are interested in registering for VAT, remember that there are two processes under SARS for VAT. There's one that you can do voluntarily, which is goes guided by the thresholds. And there's one where it is compulsory because once we reach a certain threshold, that means the company can be able to generate enough money to pay for VAT. A mistake that we have seen in the industry of SMMEs is that when they start SMMEs and the clients are requesting a quotation or a tax invoice, you'll find SMMEs with no VAT number, meaning they haven't registered for VAT. What they will do, they will put 14% or the VAT that is at that time. You are not allowed to do that if you haven't registered for VAT and you were given a VAT number as a service provider, because according to law, that's fraudulent because you'll be charging your clients VAT while at the very same time you are not registered and allowed to charge VAT. Because we have seen invoices that have VAT as an additional amount, then you think every business should do so. No. But if you have an interest to register for that under voluntary basis, you are still allowed, right? But make sure that you do enough research to a point that you understand the benefits and the advantages and disadvantages of having a VAT number. Right, I've explained the issues of compliance and making sure that you maintain the status of the of your compliance in regards to CIPC. There's also Department of Labor that you need to be familiar with. And when we talk of Department of Labor, we're talking about the basic conditions of employment. Most of us as entrepreneurs, what we do is that we start businesses and we don't even consider Department of Labor as a key stakeholder. It is very important that you become familiar with the basic conditions of employment. The reason is you, as the founder of the company, remember, once you register the company, you comply, you get hired by the company. This means you also need to register for things such as COIDA, which is compensation in cases of people who will get hurt while performing their duties. But there's money that you need to be able to pay, that you need to contribute on an annual basis towards Department of Labor, so that that money can be used in situations of accidents. So it is very important also that you comply in that regard. But now, SMMEs, they find themselves not having that compliance in place. And when opportunities they come and that is required, we find ourselves going all over the place because it takes time to get those documents. So the easier process is that start now and not waste time until you find that opportunity that is related to you. Should I continue? Right. So another thing that is important for me to mention in regards to Department of Labor is that as you do your compliance, make sure that it doesn't remain on a paper. The compliance in terms of documents, you also comply practically. That means you take each and every person that is new in the company into an induction process. An induction process needs to be in place all the time. There should be a checklist that will also be given to the employer that was taken through the induction so that they are able to assess whether the induction that they were given was on professional basis. With that, Department of Labor, with SARS, let's talk about the banks now. As I've mentioned earlier, that once you get registered, you need to treat the business as its own person. So it needs to have its own business account. There are different banks that you can approach in South Africa to do business with. But you need to do your homework properly so that you understand the bank charges involved and the options that are available so that you make a best sound financial decision. Because someone might say, no, bank charges are not a time smash to me until you start making a lot of money. And it's not easy as well to change a business bank account, especially if it's more than one director, because you need to be able to sit down, convince one another why you need to change, write the resolution, write minutes, attendance registers, which sometimes becomes a nightmare administratively. So it's very important that when we make a decision around which bank should we use, you know that you've all agreed and not only one person if a company has more than one director or shareholder. Also, when you register your business, you'll get guidelines on what are the key things that are important, especially in the Memorandum of Incorporation. Memorandum of Incorporation is like a constitution that guides you on how to conduct your meetings, how to conduct your administrative processes, so that you are always compliant without any waste of time. And also, under this institution of Department of Labor, we have what we call a skills development levy that most companies they need to be able to pay. However, there is a threshold before you can even qualify. The same as when you want to do uh, a compensation and other things, there's always a threshold that you need to meet so that you can be able to start paying and you'll get a specific unique number that will be attached to the company's name. So that money is money that is available to capacitate your staff members. And that's the money that is able to go through the sitters, we have about 21 sitters in South Africa. Those who are involved in the training and development, skills development sector will understand. But as an SMME, there will be a time where you are making a lot of money, and based on that turnover, you'll be required to start complying according to the Skills Development Levy Act. And also, this is combined with unemployment insurance fund, because these two, they work hand in hand. The money that is collected through the skills development levy is able to assist to pay certain amounts of money to people who get retrenched, or people who are not able to continue with the company due to various reasons, and they need to get their monies. Hence, it's called an insurance fund, which also through SARS. So the partnership between SARS and Department of Labor is hand in glove. So another body that I want to introduce you to, which is something that might be new to a lot of us, is Department of Treasury, right? We know Department of Treasury deals with our country's monies. However, they've introduced what we call a central database system report. That means each and every supplier that wants to work with government, they must be able to produce that report, which gives them a status quo of what is it that they are compliant on and what is it that they are not compliant on. So we call it in short CSD. So it's very important that you comply. It's a very quick process, because once you go through the CIPC, you get your SARS document in place, you get your bank, business bank details in place. All those things, they will be incorporated into that report. Let me not forget the BBBEE Act, which I'm going to explain very simple to you. What is important for us when we start our businesses, we fall under level 1 based on that most of our companies are 100% black owned. However, if you find yourself that there is a white person or a different ethnic group which is represented within the company in terms of the shareholdership, there are certain percentages that will go to that ethnic group. That means the company is no longer 100% owned, right? Then those percentages, they need to be clear. But however, when you go to level 2, the annual turnover is also considered, not only because of we are a black, white, Indian, and colored, but the annual turnover is considered in that process. And accountants are the best people placed to interpret that. But this one of level 1, I just want to share with you, as in terms of compliance, that you need to be able to download the affidavit if you make less than 10 million per annum. You don't have to go and look for a BE certificate as previously, because everyone is looking for money. They will charge you that money, but give you a document that is for free. So you can Google that triple BEE affidavit, download it, complete it with the company's documents and the person who will be taking the affidavit to the police station. For it to go to the police station and get a stamp, which is going to be valid for 12 months, and it expires, then you need to do another one. So easy like that. Then you know that you have your basic compliance in place. It doesn't end there, especially for those who are more involved in complicated industries like the mining sector, those who are involved in the catering business, because there are certain certificates that they need to be able to attain, which is part and parcel of the compliance process. For an example, occupation, health, and safety. It's a key element to embrace in your business for everyone in the business, but more particularly those who find themselves in the catering business, because where they are cooking the meals, it needs to be certified that it's a place that is not of danger, and it's a place that is healthy, clean for food to be produced. One of the things that I know that they always look at, the inspectors, when they come before they give you a certificate that you are allowed to cook meals, is the ceiling. Because a house that doesn't have a ceiling, it's of danger in terms of health, because anything can fall from the above, where you have anything, dust and all that to the food. So what is important is that you need to put your ceiling, and it needs to be always clean. Even for the quarter business, those are the things that they are looking at. Where do you store your food? Right? It might be potatoes. There's a certain temperature that they require. Another one, it's around the issue of still occupational health and safety, but they look at how many workshops do you conduct as a business in making sure that your staff is familiar with that. And to a point that they'll want you to establish a committee that will look after those needs or those issues and be able to address them as they come up. So it is very important for us to be familiar with all these legislations and acts so that it's easy for us to embrace the process of complying. That was too good. Right. So, and then now we have seen recently that we have what we call a Poppy Act. What does a Poppy Act mean? So it's a new legislation um, that has been introduced. However, it has been existing under different names that we need to be able to protect the information of our consumers. You can no longer share information recklessly of consumers and other people who interact with your company. Reason being is based on various complaints that have been received of people finding that they were called by different institutions while they have been given information to those institutions. And because information can be sold, which puts now more information and data at risk. So to protect that process and making sure that we all on point with the protection, and we know that when we share our information, it won't be used for things that are not supposed to be used. Actually, I need to give permission that you can use that information to some institutions that might come and request that information from you. And actually, there's even a heavy penalty that has been introduced to say if that is found that you have shared information without the permission from the person that information belongs to, you will find yourself paying that amount of money, because that will be a breach of compliance regulations. Like now, during COVID, there are certain regulations that we need to embrace, right? So, under Department of Labor and also Department of Health, you are required to comply with the regulations that the country has put in place in making sure that everyone is safe. Remember, you might not do interactions on a daily basis with clients, but whenever they come to you, you need to be able to be ready. And to an extent that your staff members must be protected at all times, because your staff members are the first clients in your business. Therefore, you need to be able to take interest and protect them, and by embracing these regulations and be able to do the right thing, because they are able to guide you on what is it that needs to be put in place so that they can make sure that everyone is safe at all times. Remember, some of the things that we have mentioned, we have just touched on the surface base so that you are able to start your own process as an entrepreneur and go and deep into these legislations and acts, policies, anything that is available within your sector. Make sure that you take interest to a point that each and everything that changes in your sector, you must be familiar with, because today you sleep while the act says one thing, tomorrow you sleep and it says a different thing. And if you are caught that you are not complying, there are consequences. And some of the consequences, they are heavy because of the nature of the sector that you are part of. As I've mentioned earlier, look at the mining sector. There's no room for negligence. Once there's negligence, then lives are at risk because you are dealing with issues that are underground. And for someone not to follow a protocol before they can even enter underground without wearing a helmet, someone must take full accountability for that. So these documents or these legislations and acts policies, they are not there to make our life difficult, but remember they are a living document like our constitution, which guides us broadly. Because all these legislations, policies, and acts, they are given birth by the constitution that protects all of us. There's no act, there's no regulation that is developed and published without consulting the constitution because that's the highest form of guideline in regards to the law related issues. Your homework is to start now. Some of us, we might have been familiar, some of us, we might have heard about them, but some of us, it's something new. Also, I encourage collaboration amongst themselves because someone might be familiar with something that you are in need of. So don't keep quiet because compliance doesn't only bite you, but it can bite the sector as a whole. Look at the tourism sector. It didn't only affect during COVID one sector, one company alone, but it affects generally the sectors. When the ministers are hosting the sector in Davos, those are the things that they are talking about. And if you are within that particular sector and you hear that there was a conference, it should hit you that I was not in that conference for a number of reasons. You might not have been familiar with it. They might have invited specific people, but take interest and want to know what happened. In regards to government, you can also register and subscribe to the government information website so that each and every discussion that takes place, you are also able to get those newsletters, those presentations, and some of the things that they're talking about at the portfolio committees level, so that you are always aware as a business and you are able to position yourself. Now, what are the benefits of complying? Because compliance, you invest a lot of money in it, you invest a lot of time in it, and there's a certain skills that you might need, but not something to easily get, and that's where also a lot of money goes into because you need to hire someone who can be able to perform that duty that you are not able to do or you don't have capacity to do, so that ultimately you are compliant. All these things, they need to benefit the company at some point. Let's think of this example as a way of explaining the benefits. If now, as an entrepreneur, as a business person, we are being called to come and take advantage of an opportunity that is available and that has 5 people, we are being called to a briefing session. And not just a briefing session. If it happens that you don't attend that briefing session or send someone as a representative of the company, then you are automatically disqualified. And when you get inside the room, there's only 2 of you instead of the 5 invited businesses. In these 2 businesses, including yourself, you find out that the compliance that they're looking for, it's something that will want you to go back and work on it because you don't have a tax clearance that is active. You don't have CIPC annual returns that have been paid. And as a result, you lose that 2.5 million business opportunity. How are you going to feel about that? And I'm sure you are going to feel bad because the opportunity, when it came, You were not prepared with your compliance. A compliance that could have cost you less than 2,000 rands. You have compromised yourself and lost 2.5 million. You don't want to be in that opportunity, and hence we say there are greater benefits because when these opportunities they come, you are able to take advantage of them because you know that you are compliant. Administratively as well, your filing system is on point, right? They don't say, please bring us a letter, write us a letter. You are still searching for that letter on your laptop because you don't know where are your letters are. So administratively, being organized is part and parcel of complying. And remember, compliance can happen from different sectors. And as an institution, you need also to have your guidelines or rules that will assist you in making people to comply. But test your own medicine first by embracing the compliance yourself that you set up within your own organization, in your own company, because that matters. With compliance, you increase the opportunities because you know that your focus will be getting opportunities than being worried about compliance because it's taken care of. You can be able to network with confidence because even a person can say, can you please send us your compliance document? You are guaranteed that within 2 hours, those can be sent to that particular person who might have the breakthrough for your business. Also, compliance is of benefit because it molds the standards of your company. If your business embraces compliance on a daily basis, it makes your life easy. That means you don't spend too much time stressed, running around unnecessary on the last minutes. Those who are in the tendering business, they will understand that there are specific times that are allocated to deadlines. If they say a tender box is closing at 12 o'clock and you arrive 10 past because you didn't have your file in order, because you are still chasing a tax clearance or a BE affidavit, unfortunately, you'll find the box has been removed. And once the box is removed, it means there's no place where to submit your documents. And as a result, you are done and out and starting to feel bad. So with compliance, you remove the feeling bad element and you start doing the things that matter, which is to look for economic opportunities in your business and make sure that each and every day you ask yourself a question. What is it that needs my attention in regards to compliance so that you can be able to do the right thing? Invest time and not spend time. When you spend time, you do it passively without any expectation. But when you are in business, you invest time because you know that you are expecting something which is more than what you gave in. And that's how you are going to maximize your resources in increasing your value as a business. And when you increase your value as a business, that means it's more money coming in. And through compliance, it means you'll show a character of transparency. And when you are transparent, you attract relevant stakeholders. They might not bring money, but these are the stakeholders that might bring someone who has access to money. So it's a chain. No business wants to do business with another business that is not business compliant. I just did some rhyming right there. I need to go and test my waters, my talent on the hip hop industry. So there's no business that wants to do business with the business that is not business compliant because you'll be wasting time, resources, energy. And in business, each and every time matters. When you attend a workshop, you attend a workshop because it adds value. When you do administration because it has value. When you talk to people because it has value talking to those people. They add value. So it is very important that you are always cautious. We cannot afford to lose opportunities anymore because we are not compliant. Just to bring you on board, we spoke about CIPC, which is the key institution in managing company registration, company amendments, and just complying and maintaining that status. Two, we spoke about SARS, right? Which is responsible for collecting monies and be able to distribute those monies relevantly to the needs of the country. There are different types of tax to a point that we even mention one, which is VAT. As we have warned you, don't include VAT on a tax invoice while you are not registered for VAT. That's against the law. You won't find yourself running for long doing that because you are taking people's money under false pretense that you are registered for tax while you are not. And we also touch on what the Treasury has introduced recently, which is the CST report, where all your compliance status will be reflected. And all companies that are dealing with you, specifically government, can be able to access that report and see whether they can continue to do business with you. And we also touch on the POPI Act, which is safeguarding the consumer's information. So you as an SMME as well, you need to protect the information of your stakeholders, your clients, and anyone who interacts with you. If you want to share the information with a third party, you must request permission and you must have evidence that you did get information from those people or that organization. So, with that said, we continue to touch base on occupation health and safety as a key element within the health sector, but also under the Department of Labor. Because when you look at the Labor Relations Act 66 of 1995, it speaks about protecting the employers at all time. So that's another act that we need to embrace because that basic condition of employment, it's a document or an act or regulation that assists us to understand that there are processes in place that needs to be followed, that employees needs to go through so that you can run a highly professional company that protects its employees. And that is why we see also we have unions in our country. So another one that we've highlighted is the one, a COIDA, which is responsible to collect monies so that in case of an accident of employees while they are performing their duties, they can be able to get remuneration and get paid, including those who are losing their work. Another one, Skills Levy Act. Skills Levy Act under the Department of Labor, which works hand in hand with Department of SARS. That's another one that is important because you are able to know that you contribute to something that will play a meaningful role in the lives of people, especially those who are losing their jobs and not knowing where to start. And that Skill Levy Act protects and guides us on why we should make a contribution. Obviously, there's a threshold that we need to get familiar with. And with that said, we would like to invite you on a constant basis to engage with us, talk to us, send us emails, SMS, call us if you get stuck. Because that's one of the ways of also complying in making sure that you comply. as a business.